topic of the day. Might be the topic of the times right now, financially.
Yeah, I mean, at
One
least
of them. One of the top three.
What would you say, for almost a year now?
Yeah.
Maybe not that long. So the
I
question
wouldn't
is...
say a year, yeah, because that'd be smack right when
COVID
started.
19. All right, so the topic is, are we in a real estate bubble?
Yeah.
I'm not going to say yes or no until I hear your answer.
Well, this is how I explain anything that is going to happen in the future. We don't really know. So what we're going to do is take our knowledge, what we read, who we talk to, and give you our best educated guess. That's kind of how I'm going to look at it. I would say, if you want me to give you a straight answer, I would say no. That would be my, just gun to my head, yes or no, no.
Here's what I was thinking about on the ride in this morning, is to go back to the last one where real estate prices were constantly going up, and then it fell off, right? Then we were in a bubble. And I don't necessarily think that it was a real estate bubble. It was more external factors because of the mortgage meltdown.
It was more of a financing bubble. Most of that debt was financed with bad loans, meaning the result of those loans were going to be failure, meaning they just weren't going to make it till their end date, and they would either get refinanced if you were able to, or they'd go late.
Yeah,
they default.
Or they were just getting multiple homes, multiple condos, because if they fogged up a mirror, they could get financing. So, yeah, eventually you had a lot of these borrowers who, when it was time for them to actually pay on the property versus somebody else, they couldn't because they didn't even prove their income.
A lot of option arms where, the lender would say, hey, for this amount of time, you can pay this payment, but technically it was a negative AM payment. So eventually you hit a stopping point, and now you've got to actually pay a principal and interest payment to start paying that loan down.
And you had no equity.
And they couldn't afford it.
Yep. So that's kind of what I was thinking of this morning is, that was kind of what precipitated that. So do we have anything lurking out there that could potentially cause this to be a bubble? And I agree to a certain extent that we're not in a bubble. But I also think that there is a correction. When I say a correction, I don't mean real estate prices will go down. They just may not skyrocket the way that they are right now.
I think that'd be natural on any curve.
And again, this isn't an original opinion. I was listening to Ken McElroy, and he had a really good illustration on the people who are currently in default, facing foreclosure, and those that are in forbearance. And if you get a percentage of each one of those groups that actually do foreclose, that's a lot of inventory that hits the market. And that's the issue with the market today, is there's no inventory. And because there's no inventory, prices are going up. However, if you have a flood of inventory, now you've got lots, we have way too many buyers and not enough sellers.
It's, simple economics, supply and demand.
Right.
We have a lot of demand and not a lot of supply. So that's, in anything, going to push prices up, but especially housing.
Wonder what you could get for your house. Don't throw a number, but I'm just...
Yeah. I don't know.
30-40% more than what you paid for it last year?
I'll know pretty soon, because my neighbor's putting his on the market. Yeah. So I'll know pretty soon.
And that one's probably 40% higher than what you paid for yours, right?
What he's putting it on the market for? It's not 40% higher. It's about 25.
Okay. That's pretty good in 1 year. 1 year. You bought in June of last year. Now, me... interesting week and weekend. I posted that this was something that we got to watch time because we got another podcast coming up after this. But my wife and I have been going back and forth on whether or not we should sell. What we weren't going back and forth about was getting an RV and traveling when school's over with.
Right.
And we homeschool, but our tutorials end on May 15th. So hit the road after baseball season for a couple months, go out west, see the Grand Canyon, Mount Rushmore, my favorite, that I've never been. I say my favorite. I'm sure it will be my favorite when I actually see it. Glacier National Park. The second favorite would be the Redwood. National Park. I want to see some redwoods. But anyways, we weren't going back and forth on that. That was something that we were clear that we wanted to do at this season in our life with, the age of our boys. So she's like, you know what? I've been getting some interesting information from realtors. Why don't you just tease it? You've got a pretty big audience on Facebook as far as a network of realtors. Why don't you just put it out there on Facebook that we're contemplating selling? We're not going to list it because we don't want to do showings and all that stuff. But if we're going to be gone, maybe we'd sell it for the right price. So I did that on Friday. The number that was in our head, I won't say what the number is because if I tell you what the numbers are and I also don't want to jinx myself either.
Right.
Because we haven't closed yet. We're under contract, but we haven't closed. There's a difference between being under contract and closing. But within 2 days, we had, I wouldn't say several, many all cash offers at a number, I got to do the math, 35 to 40% higher than our dream offer. Not 30, 40% higher than what I thought we could get, 30 to 40% higher than our dream offer.
Yeah.
And I took it.
Yeah. You're going right. You did.
Sight unseen, California, of course. I would say three of the offers were all cash out of California. Sight unseen, one contingency home inspection, which we just got one a year ago, so we're good there. And that's it. And close as quick as possible because it's an all cash offer. But not even a lease back. Let me stay there until the end of July because I got 4 boys and been living there for 3.5 years. So I got a lot of crap I got to get out and storage and all that. I mean, I couldn't say no. And that was without even going on MLS. I didn't even market the property. I just put a couple pictures on Facebook, posted, say, hey, I'm contemplating selling this. Next thing you know, I'm getting DM'd by tons of realtors saying, I got a buyer, I got a buyer, I got a buyer. And then we get in a multiple offer situation, and we just go back and forth.
Yeah, and it tells you a couple of things. It tells you, like we said in the beginning, demand is there. When demand is there, you're going to get a lot of offers, and you're going to get a premium price because the buyers want to live where they want to live, and they know that the supply is low, so they have to take advantage. And that's kind of what happened to us last year. Now, I think we got kind of lucky with our price point, but we could start seeing last year when we were in the buyer's market that, holy cow. I mean, we live in Middle Tennessee. Normally stuff sits. Prior to last year, normally stuff would sit
Especially
a lot longer.
like properties like what you got
Right.
on land.
On land, it was, and our realtors like, normally stuff will sit 60, 90, 120 days. Now, less than a week, it will go off. And it's just how that tells you that the demand is very low or inventory is very low.
So, we got to looking at the offer, and obviously we accepted the highest one and signed yesterday. But then we got to talk, and not you and I, but me and my wife, what kind of deal is this person getting? And quite frankly, they may be not stepping into equity right now, but 2-3 years down the road, this could be, although it's a win for us, this could be a win for them because one of the first things that they're contemplating doing is coming in and adding even more square footage. Right. So one of the plans that I had, which was add an additional 2-car garage with living space above it, that's essentially what this lady wants to do as well. It was nuts, bonkers. But it's a number that we just could not refuse.
So going forward, what would you say? What do you think the market is going to do? Do you think it's going to just plateau or slow down and continually increase, but just at a slower pace? You think it's going to keep going gangbusters for a couple years?
I think we're going to go gangbusters for probably another year, which means this lady. Probably, if it's going gangbusters, is probably at the end of a year from this transaction, she may end up with $150,000, $200,000 worth of equity. Yep. So I think maybe gangbusters for a year, but I think there is some validity to what Ken McElroy is saying as far as the people who are kicking the can down the road and they're getting subsidized by the government as far as the forbearance agreements and also the foreclosures. I think a percentage of that is going to happen.
Right.
And we're going to get quite a bit of inventory because of that. Is it going to be enough? I don't know.
My brother and I talked about that too. And what they're doing different now than they did in '08, kind of didn't have a choice in '08. They had to go through foreclosure process because people just walked. Here, people aren't walking from their homes like they did in '08. I mean, some will eventually be forced to, but that's where forbearance comes in. The bank got smart and said, look, we don't want to deal with what we did in '08. We don't want to go through the foreclosure process because it's a lot of work. You got to hire people on into that department to write that stuff off and go back and forth with the mortgage insurance companies. And it's a lot of work. So they said, okay, let's just do forbearance. And like you said, kick the can down the road where most of these people are going to be able to get back on track. Then they don't have to deal with foreclosure. It won't be the same as '08. Now, will some people foreclose? Of course. I mean, it will happen. It just does. But it's not going to be an epidemic like it was in '08.
No, yeah, I agree. But I also think that there will be areas, like for instance, I think it was Dave Ramsey who talked about this. I think it was a video I watched this morning that, you know, when we had the meltdown nationwide, you had reduction in real estate prices, right? If we do this time around, it's not going to be nationwide. I mean, Nashville, for instance, or the Middle Tennessee area, I think it's going to be strong for quite some time.
We have an influx of people coming in all the time.
But I looked at the offers that were coming in and where they were coming in from. California and Illinois. I didn't have one from New York. I was surprised. I thought maybe somebody from New York. But you hear this on the news that people are flooding California or leaving, evacuating California and Illinois. That was the offers that I got.
Why do you think they're leaving those two states?
Politics and taxes. Yep. People voting with their dollars.
And I'm very familiar with Illinois because that's where I grew up.
Right.
And I have friends and family back there. And I know what their tax rates are, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to pass up states like Texas, Tennessee, and Florida, where you have no income tax, state income tax.
No state income tax,
right?
Correct.
And it's
property taxes in general are relatively low.
Yeah,
too.
Yeah, especially compared to Illinois and New York.
Sure.
I don't know.
My house would be triple in Illinois in property taxes.
What are the property taxes like in California? I would imagine they're extremely high too.
They're high too.
Isn't that amazing?
Their state income tax is, I think, almost 13%.
So how is it they're bankrupt if they have that much in state income tax and they charge that much in property taxes? But yet states like Texas, Tennessee, and Florida are cash flow positive and budget friendly.
It's bad spending.
There you have it. So you voting for Bernie next election? If he's still alive.
I don't know if any of them are going to, Biden, Trump, I don't know if Trump will go again, but
I think
Bernie,
he will.
They'll all be in their 80s.
Yeah.
That's getting up there.
Reagan wasn't he 84?
Yeah, but you could tell at the end of...
No, he was elected in 84.
He was he was elected in 80 and 84.
Yeah.
Yeah, 80 and 84. I think that's right, 80 and 84.
Yeah.
Yeah, because 88 was Bush 1.
Mm-hmm. But it was also Bush with Reagan.
Correct.
G-Dub. OG. G-Dub. All right. So let's circle this back around so we can kind of close this out. So you don't think that we're in a bubble?
No. I mean, if we're looking at the bubble to pop, I would say no. Could you call it a bubble in the general sense of inflated prices? Sure. Do I think the bubble is ultimately going to pop and do what it did in '08? No. Could I be wrong and we do see some drop in prices, like maybe a year from now? Maybe that happens. It just won't be.
Maybe in areas of Illinois or areas of California.
Like you said, it'll be in certain areas, and it probably won't be near as aggressive as it was in '08.
Yeah, so kind of similar to '08. I mean, '08 was a financial crisis on top of this, but even in '08, you had pockets like Atlanta, Miami, Vegas, Memphis, and things that they had massive foreclosures. So, again, totally different economics at play here, but I think if you have enough, and we're talking about a state like California is heavily populated, so you're going to have lots of people leave California for that to really start depressing their real estate market. But I kind of feel like that's happening though. Not that the real estate's going down, but a lot of people are showing interest of saying, we're out. We're done with all this mess.
Yep.
Which is a shame.
A lot of wealthy people too. A lot of people with
all cash offers on multi-million-dollar homes. Yeah. I mean, it's a shame because California is so beautiful and has so much potential, and they're just running in the dirt. Speaking of which, our buddy Payne is out in Scottsdale, Arizona. a hedge fund thing, golf
gotcha.
trip type thing. And so I called him yesterday, and he was telling me, he's like, dude, yeah, putting us up in this hotel. It's a $1,200 a night hotel. We're playing at this golf course, which he knows golf courses. I don't know golf courses. Like, man, this is one of the top 4 golf courses in the country, blah, blah, blah. So I called him and like, hey, so what's Scottsdale like? Thinking he's going to be like, oh, man, it's beautiful. He goes, dude, this is Baghdad of North America. And I'm like, what? I was like, is it not pretty? I mean, is it not nice? He goes, no, things are nice. He's like, but everything is just dirt and rock. He's like, I feel like I'm in Baghdad. It's like interesting way to describe Scottsdale, Arizona. So again, if you've never been offended before, continue to watch our channel. And if you're Arizonian, is that what they are? Then we just offended you because apparently you are the Baghdad of North America. All right, well, we're at 16 minutes, and I've got another one coming up in 3 minutes.
All right. I think we covered it.
Yep. I don't think we're in a bubble either. I think that things will eventually start leveling off. Home prices will still continue to rise, but not at 10, 15, 50% a year. So there you have it. We're not experts. Be sure to tag someone. Comment below if you know more than us, because when it comes to real estate, most of you would. And subscribe and hit like. And until next time, take care and God bless.